This really came home to roost one day before a Puppet Up show when one of my fellow puppeteers got sick right before the curtain went up and was unable to go on stage. Hi, my name is Baciocco. I'm a puppeteer and a creator, and on this channel I talk about creativity and my thoughts on creating. When it comes to your creativity, are you a utility player? All right, let's break down what I mean by utility player. In sports, I don't play a lot of sports, but in sports, a utility player is a player who can play any position pretty competently. And I think it is important that in your creative work, you become a utility player. The concept is sort of to become so good at different creative things, people will always be able to plug you in wherever they need you. I first got the idea of becoming a utility player while I was doing comedy open mics in San Francisco in the late 90s, early 2000s. After doing a bunch of comedy open mics in San Francisco, I thought I would try doing a more general open mic where people were doing lots of different things. There were people doing poetry, there were people singing straight, serious songs, and there were people doing comedy. So I took my comedy music act there, and it worked really well. In fact, the audiences loved it because it was a little bit different from anything else that was on the bill. After that first mixed open mic experience, I thought, what if I did strictly music open mics? I was so in my head thinking about comedy, but what if I went to a music open mic? And I went there and it went really, really well. At comedy open mics, I stood out because I was doing music. At music open mics, I stood out because I was doing comedy, well, comedic songs. So this is where I really started to learn to become a utility player. Now, this utility player concept really came into focus with me when I started training with the Jim Henson Company's Puppet Up Uncensored. If you haven't seen Puppet Up Uncensored, it's sort of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, live on stage with puppets. And we have an opening number, and we have a closing number, and we have different things that go out through the whole thing. And while most of the show is largely improvised, there are some set pieces during the show, like, for example, the opening and the closing. Well, when I first joined the troupe, I learned my part in the opening and I learned my part in the closing. But then one time during rehearsal, Patrick, our director, said, "Oh, we need someone to fill in for this other part." Now, it's not a part that I had done before, but I immediately jumped at the chance. I was like, yes, I'll step in and I will learn that part. And then I just started learning as many parts as I possibly could. And this told Patrick, the director, that he could plug me in anywhere. And this sort of concept continued on with the sort of recreation pieces we do. At the time, we were doing two pieces, I've Grown Accustomed to Your Face and Java. And I was first asked if I wanted to do Demon Head, which is a little demon character, in I've Grown Accustomed to Your Face, and I said yes. But then somebody said, oh, we need somebody to do Lady Singer to practice while someone's doing Demon Head. And I said, I'll do it. And then for our other one, Java, there's Big Java and Little Java. I started out on Big Java, but when they said, oh, we need somebody to step in and learn Little Java, I volunteered right away. I wanted to become indispensable to Patrick and the production by learning all these different parts and actually making Patrick's job easier, knowing that he could plug me in anywhere and that I could do the job. I became a utility player. This really came home to roost one day before a Puppet Up show when one of my fellow puppeteers got sick right before the curtain went up and was unable to go on stage. Right before we went out on stage, Patrick asked who could fill certain roles, and I was able to say yes to most of them. I didn't do every single one of them, but I could do a lot of them because I had become a utility player. I think it is so important to become a utility player so that you can be plugged in anywhere because you kind of create work for yourself. If somebody asks if you want to learn how to do something, say yes, because then you'll know how to do it. And if you do, you're going to open yourself up to more opportunities, more gigs, and more creative growth. Are you a utility player? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.